This lithium-ion battery is a 21700 cell, and they are just a bit bigger than an 18650, but have quite a bit more capacity. Each cell here has a 5 amp hour capacity, and if you compare that to some of the best 18650 cells that have achieved a 3400 milliamp hour capacity, you can see why they are becoming popular and have been adopted by people like Tesla to put into the Mark III. So I basically couldn't afford a Tesla Mark III to get around, but I have built a very nice e-bike, and I wanted to make my own 52 volt battery pack for that bike. The cheapest way to do that was to source my cells from a reliable supplier who needed to sell me about 100 of them to make economy of scale pay to get the shipping done. So after building this battery pack, which only needed 56, I've got quite a few of these guys left. And what better way to think about using them than to get started on building your own electric car. But failing that, then of course my attention would turn to how to improve a hand warmer to double the capacity of warmth, because you don't get a lot of time out of even the best electronic hand warmers as opposed to liquid fuel. So that's what we're going to look at here. Another new electronic heater in from China, and this is the one that has the vibrator built in, and I waited for She Who Must Be Obeyed to go to work before I pulled this out, and I'm a little more excited about this one because of a discovery I made, which I will show you shortly. First of all, I've already pulled the battery pack from it after charging it fully with the micro USB plugged into here, and then that was last night. This morning when I tested it here, it started out onto the load test with a maximum voltage of 3.84, and it looks like there are 3 18650 cells in this battery pack, which they're claiming to be, wait for this, 10,000 milliamp hours. Well, once again, you would normally pay about at least $10 US for a decent 18650 battery, one cell that has 3400 milliamp capacity, which is what you would require to get 10,000 milliamps out of 3 cells in parallel. That doesn't really make sense when you consider that this whole hand warmer costs $11. So it just can't work for the sellers. So I don't know why they continue to insist on lying about the true capacity when otherwise the product seems fine. I've been trying to get them to sell them to me with no batteries, but they won't do that, which is unfortunate. So this one has the vibrator in it, which is right there. It's got a thermal sensor, which is right here, which would be interesting to try out. Maybe later I'll blast it with some heat that's over 60 and see if it shuts off. And the reason I'm excited about this is this looks to me like it might have the ability to put my own 21700 cells in, which, as many of you know, is the same cell that is used in the Tesla Mark III. Each one of these cells has 5,000 milliamp capacity, and because they're fatter than the 18650s, I can't get them into the previous electronic hand warmer. This one, however, appears as though if I can take a Dremel and grind these little bulkheads down so that the 21700s nest in there better, as in here, there is the potential for me to be able to put 2 of these in and truly have a hand warmer that does have a 10 amp hour capacity, which should give me 4.5 to 5 hours if all goes well. Before you spot weld your batteries up, note that there is a space between them that you're going to have to fill that gap. They don't nest right up tight against each other. So the best thing to do would be to hot glue them while they're in place so that they will end up in their natural angle of repose. Right here, you're going to have to cut a notch out of this little plastic bulkhead right there in order for the nickel strip that is making the parallel connection between the 2 negative terminals on your batteries so that it can get in there. What we got for the total capacity for this 3-cell battery pack, 5,400 milliamps. Oh, now let me explain what we've got going on here. Over here on my right is the probe that is attached to the top of the hand warmer dorsal surface here, which keeps timing out on me. And the probe temperature is right here in the lower right corner, which reads 57.5 right now, working its way up. And the hot plate is shut off with the thermistor glued to it. It's 63 degrees right now, but we can see that the hand warmer is continuing to work at that. So now what I'm going to do is activate the hot plate again and then keep checking the top of the hand warmer to see at what point it evidently will start to cool down. So I guess that means that the hand warmer will thermal regulate itself to help protect the batteries from thermal runaway and having a explosion or thermal runaway in your pocket. So I think we can give this one a pass. I almost forgot to include this in this video, which was looking at the other claim feature of these units, which is using them as a power bank. They certainly wouldn't be my first choice as a power bank, because if we look at it, and I'm looking at it upside down so that you can see it, as soon as I plug in something that draws more than an amp, in this case 1.34 is what it looks like, it really drops the voltage down right away. Whereas one of the Miller power banks or one of the other ones will support a higher amp draw and also keep the voltage up, which means then that you've got more energy that's being supplied in terms of watts. Let's take a look at this other one and see what it does. Give it a moment to stabilize out here, and I got to turn around and look at it. 4.23 volts and 1.16 amps. That is pretty dismal. I would not really be turning to this as one of my first choices for using it as a power bank. And this is what I found, which is a resistor for producing the heat. Now, of course, all these devices are using resistance of some sort and producing heat. This is a temperature resistant quartz ceramic resistor. They use a metal oxide, and there's metal wire. It's a metal wire alloy, probably nichrome in there. And these guys have a temperature rating. I think they can be used up to around 155 C.